We're here in Fulda with Darran Lovely from Teeling Distillery in Dublin. Darran, thank you for joining in.
My pleasure.
You tell us a little bit about yourself and your position with Teeling.
Sure. Okay. So I am the commercial manager for the EMEA markets, which essentially is Europe, the Middle East, and Africa.
Right.
But Germany would be, in volume-wise, be my second most important market. So I'm here quite regularly, and I work very closely with our partner Borco and then some key clients, the likes of Marika from irishwhiskies.de.
So you're here to introduce the first single pot still whiskey from Teeling to Germany, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is going to be batch number 3, and I think you have a quite legitimate question about.
Yes, but the question would be, why is it not batch number 1 or 2, and why is it batch number 3?
Yeah, very fair question, and one that has been asked a number of times. So essentially, we launched batch 1 at the end of October of last year, 2018, and this was the first whiskey from the new distillery of Teeling in Dublin. So it was a very important event for us. It was a small bottle run, about 1,000 cases. Because it was such a young whiskey, it had just turned 3 years, about 3 years and 4 or 5 months old. We were conscious of the fact that it was a very young, vibrant whiskey, and that compared to the other single pot stills on the market, such as Redbreast and Green Spot, it would maybe not. We wanted to manage expectations of people who would naturally benchmark our new pot still against the existing ones. So what we did was we tried to be strategic about how we launch it. So we just launched it in the Irish market for batch 1 to ensure that we could manage the dialogue, get people to taste it in the right environment. So we did a lot of tastings in our distillery, just focused on batch 1, to explain the process, explain the journey that was on. It wasn't a finished product. We were enabling people to try the first edition of what will become many editions. So batch 2 was then bottled in January of this year. Again, so instead of 100% being available to Ireland, this time was maybe 90%, and we did a couple of very small releases in Europe, one in Sweden, one in Belgium, one in Netherlands. Again, just maybe 100 cases each. They went to a few key clients who already were accustomed with dealing with pot still whiskey. We did a taste testing with our colleagues in Borco, and Marika was available to try this also. We would have done this at the Hansa Spirit at the start of the year in Hamburg. And we had a very open and frank conversation about where batch 2 was in terms of this evolution and this journey for the pot still whiskey. And again, we thought that for a very important mature market like Germany, we wanted to wait until batch 3. You will see this for yourself when we do the taste comparison between batch 2 and 3 in an hour's time, that we have continuously, or Alex Jasko in particular, the master distiller and master blender, has continuously done some R&D with the casks that we're using to mature the pot still whiskey, and importantly, what proportions and consistency we get between each casks. And we have made some big strides between batch 2 and batch 3 in terms of we have now moved away from using any white wine influence, which has made a huge difference, especially on the nose and the initial mouthfeel, because we had the feedback that batch 1 in particular, and to an extent batch 2, was still quite youthful on the nose. The feints were quite prominent, and we, after doing our own little bit of internal research, we saw that it was the white wine, the kind of acidic nature of the white wine, that was bringing out this kind of faint forward, spirit focused nose and mouthfeel. So we've moved away from that from batch 3, and now we are far more comfortable with where it is in this journey of evolution.
And would it be fair to assume that it's also a little bit older than batch 2 now?
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
And that is one very easy difference to make between each batch, that there's typically a 6-month gap between each one before it's bottled. And obviously, as a general rule, the longer it is in cask, the more balanced and mature it becomes. But I think that and hopefully you'll see this for yourself, because tasting is obviously very subjective, but a big difference, as well as the time spent in cask, is the casks that we've chosen for batch 3.
Right. So how would you describe, since our readers cannot be attend tasting here, how would you describe the batch number 3 now?
So
taste-wise.
Yeah, and I suppose maybe just give a little bit of background to pot still whiskey in general. It is a unique subcategory specific to Ireland, and it's a mash bill of 50-50, well, 50-50 for Teeling at least, malted, unmalted barley. So what I like is you have that contrast between the spring barley, which is unmalted, and that's very vegetal, elemental. It has the kind of peppery spiciness and some kind of citrus notes. And then you contrast that with your malted barley, which is your classic smoother, richer, kind of sweeter, more depth of flavour. So the big difference, I think, from batch 2 to batch 3, taking out that white wine influence. So now we have almost equal proportions of virgin American oak, first fill American bourbon casks, and sherry, Oloroso sherry hogsheads. And it's almost like a 3-3-3 split.
All wine casks are completely gone now?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the reasons I gave earlier. So now you have, I think, more of an influence of, there's a nice kind of grapefruit citrusy nose. There's a little bit more kind of the softer stone fruits coming through in the mouthfeel, especially the some peaches, and almost like the quite soft kind of poached peaches. The quintessential kind of spicy pepperiness that's there on the tongue still exists, and I think overall the balance is much better now, and you get the feeling that this whiskey is much closer to where it needs to be. Okay. You don't have that same kind of faint, faint forward spirity nose on it.
So that would be my next question, in regards to the Teeling style that is intended. Are we there yet with batch number 3? Or?
We are very close. We're very close. We do plan to release an unbatched commercial release at the end of the year, where we will take the batch number off, so there will be no more batches. There won't be an official batch 4, and that will basically highlight the fact that we have come to peace. We're at peace with the different cask maturations that we're using. So we feel we're very close now with batch 3. Batch 1 was, I suppose, just to liberate ourselves and give people who have been following Teeling an opportunity to buy the very first whiskey. It was very much something that was close, like a personal choice that people made to buy it, less so maybe on the actual long-term quality of the whiskey, but more so because it was a very collector's edition. Batch 2 was, a bit of an R&D project where we were still trying different casks. The learnings we took from that we put into batch 3, which means that we're far more comfortable now with where the liquid is. And then I think we'll do a few little tweaks for the commercial release that will come at the end of the year.
Final question to you, because I know a lot of our readers are going to visit Dublin and visit Teeling. What's in the distillery store now, the distillery exclusive? What are you offering right now?
Yeah, nice question. So we have moved from the first distillery exclusive we launched last year was a chestnut finished premium blend. Then we just finished our second one, which was a Hungarian oak, again finished premium blend, and now we've moved to a chinkapin cask. So again, this is a first for Teeling. We've had those casks in our warehouse for quite a while. We've been excited about it, and now I think it will hit the shelves next week.
Right.
Yeah, officially, and it'll have that lovely dark black canister, and again, it's personalizable and only available in the distillery, which makes it quite unique as a distillery exclusive. So yeah, so it's actually been a really popular addition to the distillery.
Darran, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Have a nice day here.
Thank you very much.